general perceptions when you go to a ball game, whatever kind of ball it is, even if it's a hockey puck or whatever it is? What are your thoughts on like the overall stadium experience these days?
So I think you're spot on. The costs keep going up, both for the ticket to get in and parking and getting there, the hotel if you're having to travel for it. And then in the stadium or arena, the refreshments have gone up a whole lot. Where when I was younger, going to an Alabama football game, for example, the ticket was $11 and a drink was $1 and popcorn was $1 and it wasn't that bad. Now a ticket's over $100 and parking is $25 and sodas are what is it, $10 now? So yeah, it's getting more expensive. Yeah, oh, I didn't mention a beer. Everything's going up. And as we're discussing fan engagement with different stadiums and venues, they're all talking about their objective now is fan engagement and game day experience, making it more worth the investment.
What does that mean?
We're learning a lot about that. What does it mean to make the game day experience more relevant? Right. What we found is it means that the entire experience from the moment they plan to go to the game to the moment they arrive in the town or at the stadium to the entire time that the game is ongoing or concert. And then when it's done, getting out, getting back to your car and getting home. That whole thing is the game day experience, even though for some people it starts several days in advance. So what it means, and what we're finding from the different venues we're talking with, is it means that the fan needs to feel like this was built for them, not just like they are participating in something that they're nobody. So it's about making it more personal to them and more than just having to paint your face to show up and be involved in
Yeah, no, it's fair. So again, like I go to a lot of places, I see a lot of different things, and I pay attention to the show because probably the stadium I try to go to the most every year is Dodger Stadium. I'm a bit of a Dodger fan. No, I am a Dodger fan, but I also like all the teams in California. I went to all 5 of the ballparks last year, and I'll probably do that again this year. But the Dodgers have like it's Hollywood. There's an entire TV production that goes into that. I'm good friends with the Dodgers DJ. I know the stadium announcer. And I love that because these are people that I know and care about. And I got a team I care about. But the thing to me that's the most magical that they do there is on Tuesday night, and I don't know if they continue to do it, but I can't imagine that they won't. They have Mariachi Garibaldi there. And they start playing mariachi songs, like 2 minutes in between innings, that kind of thing. And it is just wonderful to have them there. And then you see all the crowd that like loves mariachi. And these dudes are getting on one knee and they're singing to their beloved. And it is one like that to me, like epitomizes what you're trying to capture. But this is Hollywood, right? So you have to think of your thing. Like if you just had a mariachi band somewhere else, it may not be the same thing. Maybe the weather doesn't abide. And there are other ballparks where I'm like, this place is dead. Yes, you're playing music, but it's not curated the way like the Dodgers do with DJ Severe. So the music scene for sure helps. Video has, gosh, I mean, I remember back when there wasn't even really like a good video board, before Diamond, which is now 40 years old. So yeah, it is tough. Like, and so what's in it? I mean, obviously, I want to get to your guys' business and how you're looking at it. But what else does work besides mariachi in LA?
So I'll tell you what, we've talked with a lot of different venues about what works for them. Some of them, they've got $1 million lighting systems that flash and do all kinds of cool things. Some of them, obviously, concessions is a significant part of it, and they're getting better at that. And we work on some elements of that too. But it's about what happens not just on the field, but in the stands, between the plays and during the plays, and leading up to the game. So they really are looking more at the entire experience. I'll give you a point of reference here. At some stadiums where those teams win almost every game every year, the fans expect to win. So just winning isn't enough. They have to do more. Whereas some stadiums where the teams may not have a winning record every year, they've got to do more to make it interesting for those fans to show up. So both sides are actually fighting to have better fan engagement during the experience.
Well, then after the game, they want it to be an experience that you think about over and over again, not just while you're at the game, but also after you game.
I used to live at Wrigley Field across the street right
Yeah.
field. I could look at the brick wall. If I look straight out my balcony, I'm staring at the ballpark. Right. Go to the rooftop building, and you could look into the stadium, and there are stands up there. Right. That's where I lived, and that community nailed all of that. It was like Mardi Gras, 81 nights of the year. It was
Yeah.
wonderful, exasperating at times, but also when you lived there, you knew like, hey, the ballpark comes with the neighborhood, and they really got it right. Now, I've not been back since the Ricketts family bought it and have put a lot of money into it, but I hear it's only a bigger version of that. But that's not possible everywhere, right? Or maybe it is. I don't know. Baltimore's got a similar setup. We have all this walking area and this area to be festive and everything else. One area where it's not working is San Francisco. They have all this high-end stuff and all these restaurants, but they're closed when you get out of the game.
Yeah.
And you're like, hey, where's the party? Like I'm just like, we won, right?
Yeah.
And it's over like that.
At the University of Tennessee, they're making some major renovations to their stadium where they're building restaurants and shopping centers into the stadium itself, right there on the river. So, yeah, everybody's paying more attention to how to make it more than just a chance to go to the game. Because one fan engagement expert told me recently that when they go to the games, what they're paying attention to is what people are actually doing at the game. And what he told me is a solid 50 to 60% of people are on their phone, not looking at the game at all. So to me, that says we're missing the point. We're missing the chance to make this fun for the fans.
This sounds like a great segue to talk about your guys' company. Let me put the link up here for everybody. It's called PixSeat.com. Let's go ahead. Let's talk about it.
All right. So PixSeat's an invention that we started working on a few years ago. Then we got stopped. There was some global thing happening that made large events not work as well.
The Olympics.
That's what it was. Yeah, that's what the Olympics or something else. Last August, Rebecca said, "Bryant, we've got to go build PixSeat. It's time. Now's the right time." So I was like, "Okay." So we put a ton of work into building a patent because we wanted to protect the IP before we got started. And then we started talking with stadiums and venues, and people are saying, "We need this." Actually, I emailed one of my star venues that we're working with. I emailed him at 4 a.m. and said, "We really want to bring this to your stadium." And he called me at 7 a.m. and said, "We want in." So we're excited about it. We're seeing some progress there. We've got a lot to build, but basically with PixSeat, we turn every cell phone, since people are going to be having them in their hands anyway, we turn every cell phone into a pixel, and we generate images and animations across the audience. We make it so that, like I said, you don't have to paint your face to be a part of the picture. You just hold up your phone and you are literally creating part of the scene that everybody's watching.
Right, and people can come together to create something. I think that also is going to lead to the thinking about it afterwards. Our section did this amazing image, or this animation. So that'll be something that they can take away and be a part of.
Yeah, and since you mentioned the production that Hollywood is around these games, I'll tell you, in the production studios at these stadiums, they are full-on production studios. It's not just a little bit. They're producing the event. In fact, I just learned yesterday about on an NFL field, there's a guy wearing orange gloves, and when he does this, it tells the referees, "Stop play. We're going to go to commercial." I didn't know that until yesterday. So we're seeing that it is about production. It is about both the experience for the fans in the stadium and those at home. So we're trying to make it so that not throughout the entire 4 hours of a football game or the 2 or 3 hours of a baseball game or more, but about every break in between where there's any time of step down in experience, we step it right back up. And we do things where the production team can do scenes across the entire audience, or groups anywhere from a few dozen to thousands can organize and create their own scenes. Now, fans, we limit what they can do. We give them options to choose from, but we do make it fun so that they can choose a team logo or a team player number or a team player name or even icons of different people, and then they create that scene. And we don't just make it a picture; we also animate it, so it's more fun. And then because we're already there and we already know where you're sitting, we also do things like we're working on a release that will allow us to deliver concessions to your seat. So now you don't have to get up to go get your food. That's going to be huge, by the way. And then
So
go ahead.
I was going to say, you'll appreciate this. So you are talking to someone who knows the guy who invented holding up a colored thing and then flipping it over and flipping it, that. And so his name is Ron Miziker, and his company did several Super Bowl halftime shows and have done other things. And he's like, I'm going to put these cards, and this is old style, right? But I'm going to put these
Yeah.
cards under someone's seat, and everybody's like, they're not going to cooperate. But I'll be damned. They did. Okay, sure. There's the occasional orange panel, the sea of red, but ultimately people wanted to do that, right? And so like there's this lineage between what you guys are promoting and talking about and what Ron believed about fans. I don't know. I mean, I would say the one of the if you remember the Super Bowl when they had the paddle boat come out onto the field in New Orleans.
Yeah. I remember that.
That's a Musiker production. And
Awesome.
so these ideas go back a long way. So you're taking something that has worked. It does have what Ron believed and proved. People do want to do these things, and I love the creative aspect of, can we design or I'm just going with what you guys have said to me, can we design our own thing? Like, can the bleacher creatures do their roll call and be like, whoever, right, judge, and then they hold it up, and they're all doing like, I think, what is judge's number 11 maybe. Anyhow, they and they're flashing that number in some way. How would that work for the bleacher creatures?
So we've got we designed what we call PixScenes, and we deploy them to everybody that uses the app before the event. Makes it easier to solve the problem of limited bandwidth in the stadium. And then as soon as the game starts and we're ready to run a scene, we send out a signal to a few devices, and then we use some proprietary methods for propagating that across the audience. And then we can start a scene at any point during the game, and we can run that scene either in circuits, or we can just run it in for 10, 20, 30 seconds. Whenever we're going to run a scene, we're also going to alert people on their device and on the Jumbotron, hey, get ready for a pick scene. Now, I'm calling it a pick scene. Some stadiums are telling us, we want to call it our own thing. I'm like, cool,
Sure.
Works for me.
Right. Whatever you want to do, that's fine.
Yeah. So they'll be able to do their own. And then we're also working on a tailgate mode where you can do it before and after the game, and then a party mode where you can do it unrelated to a game, just your own party group. So we're working on ways to make it interesting and fun for people to do all the time. And one of the questions that somebody asked recently was, I'm a fan, why would I pull up my phone and participate in this? Well, for some people, I think 98% of people, it's fun, and we're going to do it. The other 2% probably use flip phones, and it's okay if they don't do it. But for those 98%, not only is it fun and engaging, but also they're earning rewards every time they participate in a scene. So they're getting free merch and discounts on product there in the stadium, and that's worth something to everybody there. We already talked about how expensive it is to go to these games. When you can get a discount on that just by being a part of the fans, that makes it more fun. So we're working on several things to make it more interesting and more motivating to participate.
Yeah, I love it because some of these things don't have a lot of grip. Like when the T-shirt can come out, you just can't give enough of those free T-shirts away. I've not been within a section of that thing ever, and I've been to a lot of games. And so when that comes on, I am not at all paying attention to that because it doesn't matter to me, because my odds of getting a shirt, it's like, I don't know, is it 15 and 40,000? I mean, that's just not going to draw my attention.
Well,
But
on top,
yeah,
I'll add to that. We will be giving some shirts away, but because we're a mobile phone driven app and solution, we're going to be giving cell phones away at these games. So it might be worth more than a $10 T-shirt. It might be worth several $100 phone to join in. So there's more reason to play.
In my previous life, I was a spy and I worked overseas a lot, and I did realize that affect is more powerful than effect, right? And so you can say, we're going to give out these shirts and people are going to go crazy, and to some extent that happens, right? But the affect, the love, the passion that people feel from that moment, like, oh my God, I got this thing, or whatever it is, or I won a phone, or if things actually happen, right? If you actually impact someone's life and it is positive. I got hooked on baseball because Wayne Gross rolled the ball up on the A's dugout, and I reached out and grabbed it, and I was like, "Oh,
I'll do it."
And I was gone. Right? I've loved
You're
baseball
the one in
since.
4,000, so that made it very special to you when you're that one. When you get that T-shirt, when you get that ball, when you get whatever the prize is. So.
And you've seen the Kiss Cam at some of these games. We do something not like the Kiss Cam, but as personal. So we create what looks like a ball bouncing around the stadium, and then we stop it on somebody, and they win a prize. So it encourages everybody to actually join in. And those prizes are not just cheap things; they're worth actually having, and they remind you. It makes you special. Everybody gets to see who you are when the ball stops on you.
So when the ball, how does that work? Can you help me understand like what's going? So I've got my phone, and then I get a vibration from it, and it's like, get ready, the ball's going to bounce around. Is that right?
Yep, that's right. So it'll be on the jumbotrons. It'll be on your phone, reminding you to join in, and then everybody's going to be holding up their phones. Now, to explain how it works, I want to share. At one stadium, they've got a thing that they do during in between quarters. They have everybody hold up their phone with the flash on, and they say up, down, and everybody does it because that's what you do. And the lights go on, the lights go off, and it looks cool. But it's limiting. So instead of just having you do that with your phone, we have you hold up your phone, and depending on where we are in the animation and where you are in that animation, your phone lights up different colors, or it could be black at the moment. So you're seeing what's happening on your screen on the other side of the stadium. So whatever we're showing over here, we're showing over there. And then that whole stadium-sized animation is really interesting, and it's fun. And at some games, they've got different sounds that they make. At Alabama games, for instance, I'm the biggest Alabama fan, so I've got to mention it. They've got the elephant roar, and when they do that, everybody gets loud. When they do that, we're going to add in everybody holding up your phone. We're going to create a giant elephant on the stadium, and it's going to be you're going to be a part of it. And if that elephant goes running around the stadium, instead of ever doing this for the wave, we're going to literally show an elephant running around the stadium, and that's going to be pretty cool. It's going to be something nobody's ever seen before. A low resolution, if you will, image as big as the biggest stadiums.
Yeah, that's great. You made me think about I was that the Rose Bowl or was that the LA Call? I was at the Rose Bowl, and U2 was playing, and they did a scene, and the message of the song was all this conflict and war going on in Syria, and how like there's actual little kids involved in this thing, and it's horrible. And so they projected, so they had a bed sheet. I'm saying a bed sheet. It's a giant piece of cloth, right?
Right.
And they projected that girl's image on the sheet as it went around the stadium. And again, the crowd is complying. They're keeping this thing tight, and they're passing it around and everything. And what was powerful is that image stayed on there as they moved on to the next song. She wasn't relevant anymore, but there she was in our lives, still coming around. And if you chose to see that and get that message, it's like, man, that girl's still there on that bed sheet. These fans are still doing their job to hold this thing tight enough to put an image on. It was an amazing and an emotional impact to the message they were trying to convey. And we often forget that right now we're having this great time in LA. We're watching U2 play, and meanwhile, someone is having this horrible life, and it was heavy. And so we're taking a positive view of this whole thing. But again, like I'm just trying to illustrate that people are into these kinds of things.
Yeah. I got to add to that. When you talk about the emotional aspect of it, Rebecca and I are both volunteers with a group called Rescue One Global, helping rescue women and children out of human trafficking.
Yeah.
We decided to build in some functions to fight human trafficking at these events. Now, PixSeat is a fun system. It's about fan engagement. It's about delivering services that are fun. But if you report in the app, hey, my 10-year-old daughter just went missing, and you upload a picture, we'll send out what's sort of like an Amber Alert, but we're calling it a NAT Alert, to everybody around you. We ask everybody to hold up their phone, and now we've got thousands of eyes looking for that person. We're not relying on anybody to know what she looks like. We're using AI and facial recognition to find the missing person in the crowd. So we're delivering something like what you're talking about. There is an emotional effect to rescuing someone, and when you can say, "Hey, I helped rescue that person when they were missing," that's a valuable tool within the PixSeat environment.
Yeah, and no stadium, no ski resort, no place where people gather is like, oh yeah, we're in the business of losing people's kids.
Right.
But you don't know that when your kid's not with you, and so most of the time it's harmless, right? But there is some mom. It's like, hey, where's your mom and dad? And yeah, you have this thing. So yeah, that's powerful, and it gives you like there's a lot of people helping you right now. I love that about it.
Yep.
When I think about going to a game and what I want to do, I don't want my phone in my hand a lot.
Right.
Okay. So, and I don't always stand up for the wave, but sometimes I do. So I'm movable. And I guess the thing that I want to talk about is when you are trying to be present for the game, you keeping score or whatever it is, how do you win over that person in the middle? Is there something that you guys do to get my old cranky ass to be like, all right, I'll play along with the damn thing? Because,
Yeah.
Why
There
do I want to, right?
Yeah, there are some standard things that some people are going to say, I don't want to be a part of that. And that's okay. And I'll tell you that
Yeah.
the producers in the production studio at the event, they get the ability, based on the user saturation that we know in the stadium, to test a scene and see what it looks like. They can say, that beverage ad is not going to show up very well, but the automaker's logo will show up better. We'll run that one right now. So there's some of that. But for people that aren't going to engage, that's okay. We don't expect 100% saturation. Don't expect everybody to participate. But for the people that do, there is a reward for it. There is some fun both in engaging the effect that you talked about, and the way you get physical, tangible goods out of it. So it makes you want to come back and do it again. And we do find that that people want to be a part of the picture. When this is going to be goofy. I've come home from football games before and not had my voice for 2 or 3 days. In a weird way, it's kind of a badge. It's kind of a badge. Like, yeah, I lost my voice at that game. I screamed that much. Well, what if you can have a badge that you brought home from the game and it didn't cost you your health? So, I can hold up my phone. We're working on one development that we call thrust, where the device recognizes the motion in your hand, and as people are thrusting with their phones, it's creating a visual image. So we're gonna get people involved in another way. And as far as how much time you want to spend on your phone in a game, when there's players on the field and they're out doing their thing, you're probably not going to be looking at your phone. You're probably going to you can check stats. We're working on building real-time stats into the app so that there's a reason to have it in your hand.
I'm ready. I got questions. That's great.
And at home, having that, hey, this player just did this. What's his stats right now? That's something we're working on. But also just the ability to be a part of it. It's interesting. It's fun. People want to do it.
I love it. I love we're getting in an area where I can see things that are going really well. I used to have a technology-based podcast that was called Popping the Bubble, and we talked about a lot of these things. And one of the things I realized was that with I'll say crypto as a blanket term for things, value that moves around on the net. You can take your phone and you can say, if you use, and we won't call it PixSeat, we'll call it Royals PixSeat or whatever it is, right? If you use this thing, your location is compensatable, your attention is compensatable, your use outside of the stadium in the app is compensatable, and you really could build something that is constantly accruing value. Like on Bing, if you search on Bing and you do their little quizzes and you participate, you get real points that are really valuable. Like I've got $250. This is not something Google does. Microsoft does it. And so I've got $250 just for using Bing as my search. And it takes time to accrue this value, right? But if you had something like that for my team that I want to participate with, and it was through the app, oh my God, like, do you want to listen to the Dodgers podcast, right? Okay, well, if you listen on this app, we're going to give you 10 cents, whatever it is, right? And then you link that to the ad people, because they're like, hey, and by the way, if you go and redeem those points in our sponsors, like you go to Nathan's Hot Dogs or you go to whatever it is, surprise, surprise, there's a 10% discount for your, like all that stuff. That's possible today. Like you can build this thing where this app is a way to like not only create a better experience, but also like, no, there's no shit. There's real money in there. And I think Coca-Cola would gladly like to get that much access to people. And you're going to buy a Coke thing and you're going to scan with your phone. Boop. I bought Coke. Well, guess what? It's 10% off or whatever it is. Right. It's that's powerful.
It is. And I'll tell you, we're in talks with them and others. And the idea, we're working on one design for a scene right now where you'll see a Coca-Cola bottle drop in on the end zones, and then we're going to fill the stadium with Coke. It'll look like it's filling up with liquid Coke. So there are things we can do to make it more fun. And the fact that you can say, hey, I saw right now at the end of some games, they'll survey people and say, hey, did you see Coke at the stadium? Or did you see Ford at the stadium? So they get a sampling of people saying, yeah, I saw it, or I don't remember if I saw it or not. When you see the Coke ad on the Jumbotron and we simultaneously put the call to action in your hand, give me a discount right now. and that discount or product or free, whatever it is related to me and you. So for my wife, it might be a discount at the grocery store. For me, it's a discount at the gas station. I'm more likely to buy one drink than her. So now we're delivering more personality to the advertising for the fans and for the advertisers. So I think it delivers more depth and more reality to it than previously.
Yeah, boy, and there's a whole bunch of marketing stuff. Like you could, in your region, you could buy the Bama branded Coke. You know,
Yep.
like the red stripe around it has, you know, it's crimson instead. You know, or whatever it is, and that gives you a little hook of value. Like, no, I buy the Bama Coke because that, you know, and then Bama loves that, Coke loves that. I mean, come on,
Yep.
like,
Everybody
oh,
loves it.
yeah, and they love it because it's like here's some affinity that we're measuring. Like we're measuring real affinity. We can't keep the purple band. You know what Coke's going to do if they can't keep the purple band Coke or the crimson band Coke on the shelf? They're going to make more.
Right. Absolutely. All day, every day.
Right.
They,
Yeah.
they love that. So, and we're seeing that people. I've got over there some Alabama Coca-Cola bottles from the '80s, and
Yeah.
I kept them from then, and I'll probably keep them my whole life. Some of them are from earlier than that. Have Bear Bryant's face on them. So yeah, people do keep these things, and some of them we use, some of them we consume, but it gets people more personal uh, personal effect from it.
Yeah. Over the years, you guys know this. Over the years, the giveaways have become such better. Like they're higher quality. Like one year we got a rain jacket, and that thing was just made out of Saran wrap. It was terrible, you know,
Yeah,
branded with the brand. You know, like oh my god, this thing's terrible. But it's gotten better. It's also gotten harder to get those things because people have games that they play, and you're like, I just got here. Nobody else is here. How are you out already? Like these kind of things where you can guarantee, like if you use the app boom, you're going to get the thing. And also, one of the best giveaways ever was the quad of Candlestick. You know, and it was an extra inning game at Candlestick. You got this pin, and there are people to this day, 30, 40 years later, that still have those things. But for whatever reason, the Giants haven't like brought that back, and nobody else has emulated that. Like, hey, you went through a 14 inning game. Everybody who stayed gets a boop, whatever that thing is, right?
yeah, yeah. And you're right. When it goes from gambling, am I going to get a T-shirt? Am I going to get this thing, whatever it is? To I participate. I'm going to get that reward. I know I'm going to get it. That's a whole different level of I want to be a part of that.
Yeah, I love that. Okay, so here's the other thing I wanted to ask about when you talked about the stats and everything. Um, in baseball specifically, and I think in tennis too, they track all of the motion on the field. You know,
Right.
with a system of cameras, and so any like they can tell you the spin rate of the ball. They can do all this stuff where the player is in real time. And if you watch on baseball on the MLB app and you use like the digital representation of the game,
Right.
you can see the person like bouncing back and forth and moving on the field, right? If that was on your phone in a way that you could say, oh, wow, Ricky Henderson has his lead. He's going to go. And there was some interaction with the stats and like it informed you. I might look at the phone while I'm looking at that so I can get context for what's going on in the field, you know, and get more, again, more interaction. What do you think?
So I think you're spot on. I think people do, well, not everybody, but a lot of fans actually care about the stats about what's happening right now and who's about to break a record, who's about to break their own record. So we're going to be working on delivering that, whether you're watching the game from home or in the stadium. And then related to that, in the college side, we're going to be compensating players for NIL, name and image and likeness, when people look up their information during the game. So now you know you're helping your favorite players financially when you look them up on the app. So yeah, there's more to engaging with fans than just a great game. And then when you talked about the being able to see the virtual game as well, we're working on one. This isn't going to come out this year. The edition we're working on is going to come out probably next year. But when we've got 10,000 cameras pointed at the field during gameplay, we're going to capture all those together. We're going to stitch them. We're going to create a 3D POV of your choice on the field. So if you're watching the game at home later on your Xbox or your PlayStation, you'll be able to say, I want to see that play from the POV of the ball or the ref or the center or the right fielder, whoever it is, I want to see what that play looked like from their perspective, and we'll be able to deliver that. That's going to be something that nobody's been able to do before.
Yeah, that's crazy.
Yeah.
Remember the old reverse angle thing from football where they would say, this is the reverse angle, and they would just move the camera around to the other side of the stadium and act like it was big technology. But you're talking about like 360 at any time, any angle. Wow, that's crazy.
Yeah. When we've got, like I said, tens of thousands of cameras, and we're not doing this throughout the entire game, but at different points, we're going to do this. We're going to ask everybody to hold up their phone, and we're capturing both what you look like, your response to a play, and what's happening on the field. And that's going to create a depth of experience that nobody ever dreamed of before. When you can, again, it's not instant replay, but it'll be a replay where you can go in and see that play from every perspective. And it's going to create some debate. People are going to say, well, the ref missed that call, and I can clearly see that, but you're getting every point of view possible where the ref only had one. So we're going to have to give the refs a break here on this.
Yeah, yeah, and in real time, they've really just got to make the decision right there. Yeah,
they don't get the benefit of coming back and watching it later.
Yeah, the NIL thing is cool to be able to create compensation. So if there's NIL compensation, you can also create compensation for any kind of player.
Absolutely,
they don't have to. Yeah, oh, that's neat. When you look at the ads that you have to sell to make something like this work, this is just what Pete thinks. You're going to work with Coke or whoever's Ford. And so what is the ad going to look like in the app? Is it going to be a banner? Is it more participative? Like we're like, find the Ford, blah, 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 whatever it is. How do you envision that working?
So our ads are mostly driven as a response to what we're doing across the stadium. If there's an ad on the Jumbotron, we want to put that call to action, but that's going to be when there's nothing happening on the field and we're not in the middle of doing a scene. But then if you pull up the app and we're not in the middle of a scene and we're not in the middle of a Jumbotron ad, we're gonna say, hey, click here to get more information on this, and it's literally a call to action. It's not just a hey, look at me. It's I want that product, or I want the discount on that, and we're going to be targeting it. So you're not going to get advertising. Well, you might get advertising for laundry. I don't know. I'm not going to get. I'm going to get advertising for my Ford pickup truck. So the advertising will be unique to the person. It'll be relevant. It'll be interesting. And then something that separates us from our competition, and we do have competition. I'll happy to tell you about. But something that separates us is we don't charge the stadium or the team or the concert for us to be there. We are revenue sharing with them. So it literally is profitable for them to have us there versus the competition that charges them hundreds of thousands of dollars to show up for a game.
Yeah, wow. There is an off the field or out of the venue value to this. You know, like we used to all watch the same channels on TV, so it was pretty accurate for Nielsen to say, here's how many people are watching. But you'll be able to give a hyper accurate, here's how many people are using the app away from the stadium, and they're watching the game. You know, because I don't know if people know this, but like when you sell that magazine ads, I used to sell magazine ads, like, 250 million people are going to see this thing, and it's just like this hocus pocus math. And I'm like, I feel bad saying it, man, but that's what the number they told me to tell you. But in reality, you can say, look, there's two sets of eyes or just one set of eyes, and there are 250,000 of them scattered all over your region. And that's a 250,000 people. It's more than that are in the stadium. There's no stadium that holds that many people. And so that would give the team a better idea of their reach, because not everybody can come. Not everybody can afford to come, but you can still make them part of the game.
Right.
Absolutely.
And then I was going to add to that, not everybody's going to have the app. There are going to be lots of people that don't have the app. So what we're developing a system that will allow, if I have the app and Rebecca doesn't, my device will send out a signal to everybody around me. They can join in on the scene and they'll be a part of the picture just like me, even without having the app. And then, of course, because they did that, once they get a better cell signal, that web page that they opened will invite them to download the app and get all the benefits of the advertising, and that's going to help our advertisers as well.
Yeah, well, that's great. When you look at the smaller brands, we talked about Ford and Coke, right? But if you're not, it's like a regional brand, Pete's Pizza, and every time there's a 2-run home run after the 6th inning, you're going to get a free pizza, kind of thing. If I'm doing that, I want people to show up. I want them to try my pizza, just like you want them to try the app. I want them to come in the door and give me some business. But I can't afford a $400,000 ad buy, So is this another way to get you can't just focus on national and worldwide brands. Like
Right.
you have your regional, and these people have the game on, and they're letting all these. There really is part of the community. It's just so challenging with budget to get all these different entities to be able to access the fan base, and
Right.
vice versa.
So if you can picture this, during the game, there's a local bar where people are watching the game in the bar. We encourage everybody in the bar to hold up their phones and create a scene because they've got the app. Now we're going to show that live scene at the bar to everybody in the stadium and invite them because they viewed it to come to the bar afterwards. We're going to make it so that the entire city is a part of the experience. The entire team is a part of the experience. And it's just about, I hate to call it advertising or marketing, but it's about delivering what the customer wants. If I want to know, hey, after the game, do you want to go to this place, this pizza joint? Pizza joint's good, but I'm betting they're booked. I can book my reservation right there in the app. I can see how busy they are right there in the app. And by the way, that goes to some of the other functions where we look at which exits are most occupied, which restrooms are most occupied. So we're delivering real-time information to people. And then if hey, pizza's not as busy as I thought they were going to be, I'm going to go ahead and book a table there for right after the game. It makes it more useful to even the local brands. Interesting challenge we have there is within a stadium, those venues have contracts with different advertisers at every level, international, national, local.
Yep.
So we can't bring in a competitor to the stadium. They've got contracts that would prohibit us from doing that. So some advertising is predefined. We can engage with that advertiser or not. But then there are some brands and some products that aren't already competing, so we can bring those in locally as much as we want. And we're seeing that they actually do want to see that.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. And I'm assuming that if you're non-regional, like I used to live in Vegas, there are more than one Eagles bar. There's more than one Steelers bar. There's more than, there's English bars for soccer and football, as they call it over there. So I imagine the same thing works, right? Where, and would it be a different experience because they are so far flung, or, and what about if they're away and you're just, the Crimson Tide, they travel well. You guys going up to Auburn, how does that change the experience?
So you know what? I know the Alabama Crimson Tide has and I'm going to keep talking about them because I love them. In LA, there's a bar that is the local alumni bar for watching the games. So we're going to have competitions at these different bars all around the country. If you want to be featured in the stadium, you got to participate in a scene and create your own scene there. It can be either one that we create or one that we select based on what's okay. We know fans, they'll do crazy things. So then we'll let bars and restaurants and dealerships and everybody around the country compete to get featured in the stadium. And that's something that nobody else could deliver. You're right. They can't afford a $10,000 10-second ad, but we can deliver it.
Yeah, and that makes me think about all the things you could do. I mean, that's just a neat way to do. Like if you can get people gathered up at a Ford dealership, or whatever it is, and there's value in that. Yeah, that's incredible to be able to do it. Now, is there a mechanism or a thought about having identifying super fans in the area, and maybe even they buy a super fan license and that gets them access to whatever? Because if I can gather 20 people in my yard for 8 nights a year for a football game, hey, if I'm the Rams, I want to gather that money up.
Right. So there's two things. One is the premium subscription. That gets you a lot more services, and some of them it just gets you them for free. So if I've got the premium subscription, I can order concessions to my seat and not pay for the delivery from the vendor to my seat. So there's that. And then there's also a high scoring fan. A fan with a higher score is going to get featured in the app, whether they're at the game or not, just by participating. So yeah, absolutely. There's a way to play even if you're not there. And it is sort of a super fan experience. The more you're engaged in the scenes, or the more you're viewing real-time stats, or even adding information, adding comments, because we're creating a social experience here, the more points it earns you and the more merch gets you, the more feature it gets you in the real-time game.
This gets real crazy real fast.
Yes, it does. It does.
If you are an influencer and you have 100,000 people on your Instagram and you're live streaming while you're doing all this thing, oh my God, there's an actual chance to make some revenue while you're on the app, because you are gathering and you are talking about whatever it's going to be, the Angels or whatever teams that you're talking about there's a real chance to do that, and to like the numbers work, right? If you're building a little crowd, a little community, then there's value there. The team wants it, the establishment wants it, and you deserve a little piece of that pie, even if it's $10 or something. It's $10 you didn't have, and if you use the app, you're like, I just made money doing that. You're talking, we made a video, you made money. I made a TikTok, and I didn't make shit. And then it's like,
Yeah. Yeah. Some you mentioned Google earlier. Clearly,
Yeah.
because it's free, you are the product. We're not secret about that. You are the picture we're creating, but people want to be that. Now, we are going to offer a feature where for all of the cameras we're using, you can blur yourself out. So if you're supposed to be at work that day and you don't want your face showing up, all of our cameras will blur you out,
Right.
or filter you out.
Yeah,
But
yeah,
for most everybody else, they want to be seen. They want to be seen having fun, and we'll feature them as they participate more.
yeah. I mean, really, the sky's the limit with this, right? Like if you can reliably use the app to build an audience anywhere where you're at, concert, whatever. I mean, think about the people that travel the world to follow the Dead or any band, Rush or whatever. Like these people that go crazy and they go down to Sao Paulo, and
Yeah.
that's just amazing that you could do something with that community.
Yeah.
Like the Swifties, they're going to be so happy to be able to say, "We love you, Taylor," collectively with their phones.
Yeah.
So they're going to be very happy about that.
Yeah. Well, that's neat to think about all the different things that you could do with it, especially like that crypto piece. But there's value in your attention, your participation, your location, your consumption. All of those things are, you can trade value and like you said, develop a score and be like, oh, it's guaranteed because I do all of the daily tasks,
Yeah.
so that my status is, elite premium or whatever it is. Yeah. I'm curious what your thoughts are. I know for baseball, I mean, I'm talking you're talking Bam, I'm talking baseball, but the regional sport network model seems to be dying, right? And there's going to be a real battle between labor and the team owners on how they divide up the money that they're getting. Now, nobody's going broke. Let's
Right.
start with
Absolutely.
that. But at some point, baseball, it's very possible that they will just buy out all the rest of those contracts and own their own content and then just market it themselves or sell marketing out to somebody else and let them, license that out again in some different way. Is that something where do you guys join part of that? You probably would be tickled to do that, but join that exchange. Like, by the way, there's, the to license the, I don't know, whatever, what's the app called? Is it PixSeat, the whole thing? Or
Yep. PixSeat.
yeah. So, if you buy you buy a portion of the team's PixSeat license, that costs $10,000, and then we'll all split the ad revenue. I mean, I can see a world where that happens, and we just like anything in the tech world, we democratize the ownership of the broadcasting. Like if the Dodgers allowed 10,000 licenses for someone to broadcast the game, and that cost, I don't know, $10,000. Maybe that doesn't cover everything, but you could have these smaller scale fans who are doing things and building audience that you could never touch.
Right.
You can never find them. And I really believe there's something there. And with your app having this very interactive and live presence, boy, that would be a big thing, I think.
Yeah, I think you're right. And I'll tell you, I mentioned earlier we've got some competition. There are other mobile device driven solutions, and there's the wristbands that light up and the light sticks that light up. People are bringing their devices and they're being a part of the game. And they're right now with the competition, they're not actually engaged. They're like the wristbands, they light up if they point the infrared projector at you, and they don't when they don't. So you're not really doing anything. When you get to your seat, there's one sitting there, you put it on and it lights up and it doesn't. At the end of the game, they might recycle 30-40% of them, and then there's a bunch of them that get kept, and then a bunch of them get thrown away. It's a bunch of lithium batteries thrown all over the city. We've actually seen that.
Yeah.
So we're creating something that your cell phone's ubiquitous. Everybody's going to have it with them. Nobody wants to lose that. So we're not adding a cost to the fans. We're not adding a cost to the venue, and we're delivering something more that the advertisers want that they don't have today, and that is the fan in their hand. So yeah, I think it is more engaging, more interesting, more fun, and more valuable to everybody involved.
Yeah.
When I can go home and I can say, hey, I really want that PixSeat Alabama raincoat. We can deliver that.
Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
yeah.
And we've kind of really reined with what the app might do. And obviously, at its core, it's about fan engagement and having fun. And maybe like, do you remember the old Camel bucks and Marlboro bucks where you could get yourself a Joe Camel jacket?
Yep.
These kind of things, people want that kind of experience. And maybe, yeah, the point thing is really a powerful thing. And you could get a Super Bowl ring or whatever it is, right? Like these, if you get this many points in a season, yeah, if we win the championship, guess what? You have an opportunity to buy the low grade ring or the high grade, whatever, right? Like that would blow people away.
Absolutely. And these big advertisers, they are spending. I know one that we've discussed. They're spending over $1 million a game in advertising.
Yeah.
In the stadium, not counting what they're spending on TV. So when we're delivering more to the fans and the advertisers are getting that identity delivered to them, it's a valuable product that we're bringing to the advertisers and to the fans and to the venues, and it is something that creates more memory than you ever had before. You're carrying part of the game home with you, and now you don't just have a few pictures you took. You're creating. You can download pictures from 10,000 perspectives of a particular play or a particular point in the game and see what that looked like. That's going to be fun.
When Budweiser buys an ad in the Super Bowl, there's no call to action. It's
That's right.
heritage, right? And so there's a different goal, right? And so there's definitely some of that there too. I mean, it's not just like go buy a Ford, It's like
Right.
no. We're just going to show you Aaron Judge in a Ford or whoever the player is, or that kind of thing, and you're just going to be like, yeah, that's my brand, that's my people, this is my team, and that affinity is going to be powerful like that. I definitely can see it, and plenty of room to call to action. You got to go to Pete's Pizza, right? The
Yep.
call to actions will still work too.
Yeah, and actually, that goes when you talk about the call to action. There, if I say, hey, yeah, I think I want to go to Pete's Pizza afterward, and I hit, yeah, book me a table, and then I get there after the game, and I can validate I went there. That's more rewards, and
Right.
Pete's Pizza will pay a premium for that because now I paid a penny for you to see the ad, but then I paid $1 for you to show up in my restaurant. Now,
Hell yeah.
that's a very
Yeah.
valuable return.
Can there be, I don't want to say gambling, but like a game kind of value, like where you gamify the game? And so, like, will there be a throw from the outfield this inning, and will that throw be in excess of 100 miles an hour? That kind of thing. Because we know what a good arm looks like, but we don't know how fast it is, right? And so, these are now known values, right? And so, you've got, I don't know, Aaron Judge. We'll use him again. And if he's out there, it's like, is there going to be a hard throw that exceeds 95 miles an hour, whatever it is? Yes. And getting that right equals a value. And again, like this is all compensating for participation, right?
Yep.
Right.
And I'll tell you, we're not. Go ahead. We're not going to get involved in gambling,
Right.
and in terms of concessions stuff. We're not getting involved in alcohol. Delivering alcohol to fans in the stadium is a whole different level of legislation that we're not going to cross.
Right.
Right. We don't want to have to validate someone's identity there in the stadium. But we are adding games, and gamification is a critical part of what we're building into the app, so that throughout the game, but also leading up to the game and after the game, there's a chance to play and to be a part of it, not just with visuals, but where you're saying, I think this is going to happen, or I got to be featured in this, or I want to send out a message to people just near me, or I want to send out a competing message to people on the opposite side of the stadium from me, and create all kinds of competitions during the game. It's something that we've seen in some levels people want, but they don't know they can do it. So that's the challenge we have at PixSeat is educating the fans about what they can do with this new technology. It's going to be
Well,
fun.
there'll be other features as well, as far as like, will you marry me? We could do gender reveals. There's
Oh,
so many things applications that this can be used for. It's a scavenger hunt, like some of the advertisers may want to come together and offer rewards for scavenger hunts. When you find the prize, hey, you get something. So
yeah.
There's all
That's
kinds of ways to add games to the process, separate from the one.
I love the thing, and I don't know if this is still true, but for a while at medieval times, you could propose there. And they would do a whole thing where like, here comes the knight. Oh, he's a little shorter and fatter. What happened? Who's that guy? And then they come over and like, oh, it's me. Will you marry me? At any time you could put a slightly shorter, slightly fatter version of somebody on the field, in a uniform, and then they're doing the proposal thing. everybody loves that. Everybody's got time for that.
Absolutely.
That moment. Yeah.
Yeah. And
No,
I don't think we have to extend the length of the game at all. We can do these.
yeah.
They're in a 4-hour game. I don't know. There's 60 minutes of play during a football game, but there's a 4-hour period. So we know that there's 3 hours that we're not actually having play on the field. So there's plenty of room to squeeze it in and make it more fun without dragging on the experience.
Yeah. I'm not a big fan of badges for participation, but I know a lot of the gamification equals that. But I do like the idea of, like, I believe I went to, can't prove it, went to Ricky Henderson's first game in Oakland.
Yeah.
That's cool. I was at the game when the A's reacquired him in 89. 89? No, yeah, 89. I was at that game and there was this crazy buzz that went around the stadium. That was wild, right? I was at that game. And so you do have these things. I was at Ricky Henderson's game when he broke the stolen base record. Like all
Yeah.
these things. I don't have a ticket. And, who's got time to save that? Some people save that stuff, but it would be neat if you may not even know, like, being at Ricky Henderson's first game. That didn't matter until like 1990.
Right.
I saw this player's debut. I saw their first hit. I saw Pete Rose get hit number 4,000. Whatever those things are, it'd be neat to be able to catalog those things. Whether it's I was at the Beyonce show when so and so showed up, and that's a little banner in your little book of memories.
Right. You mentioned the tickets. More and more teams are eliminating printed paper tickets, and they're going to a digital ticket. But what if your digital ticket shows in the background you where you were in that scene? Because we've got so many cameras deployed with everybody being a part of our team, we'll be able to show what everybody looked like during some point in the game. So it's kind of like the roller coaster where they've got a camera just at the peak. We're going to be able to capture what you look like at the most amazing play in the game. That might not be happy for you if your team lost, but we'll be able to show what you look like, and it'll be funny. It'll be interesting. It'll be fun, and people do want to see that. So we're creating sort of a commemorative ticket of a kind that's digital, and you're actually a part of it.
Is there a dude or dudette in an elephant suit at Bama games that you take pictures with?
Yeah.
You got
I can't imagine why not.
Yeah, and so, like, you could, in theory, book a time.
Yeah.
Me and my kid, instead of getting out of your seat to miss half the game or whatever, trying to find, the A's had Stomper. I'm not going to try to find Stumpy. Where's Stumpy? And you're looking around for him, And look, Stomper's going to do a great job when you find him. But
Yeah.
Stomper's on the move, right? So, hey, Stomper's going to be in your section in 10 minutes or whatever it is, right? And then
And similar to that, if you were one of the most engaging fans, hey, you're going to get a chance to get your autograph with this player. Be here after the game, and who wouldn't want to get that reward?
Yeah. All right, I got another one. You ready? You're at the game. You're a super fan. You're a platinum elite because you've done all these things. And whoever it is, Bill Gates is there in the Microsoft suite. He's like, I've got 2 seats open, up here in the big owner's box or whatever it is. The next thing you know, look, I know Jeannie Buss. She's not like my friend or anything, but if she saw me, she'd be like, hey, Pete, how are you? Right? If I could get up into Jeannie Buss's, she sits courtside, but if I could get there because there was an opening, fuck, I'd lose my mind. I'd be like, I can't believe I watched the game with Jeannie Buss.
Yeah.
You would lose your mind, and there has to be some capacity of unused seat or box access, and I would not shut up about it. Like, if I was at a Bulls game, I would lose my mind if I had that access, especially if you're an out of town guy and Jeannie Buss is in Chicago, for whatever reason. And she's like, I got 2 seats next to me,
Yeah. The upgrade option there is real. I mean, if I went from a cheap ticket, which is, a nosebleed seat, to now I'm in a box seat because I got to play with the PixSeat app, I'm in. I definitely play it.
Right. I mean, that'd be crazy, and that just seems like something you could do. Have you got extra, whatever luxury suite spots? Would you like to invite a couple of super fans up? Look, you can't be all drunk and everything, and I don't know how you fix that part. You guys can figure that out. But boy, what a treat that would be,
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
There's people really want those experiences, and when you buy $100 ticket to a game, you're not expecting to get that reward, but if you think there's a slight chance you might get it, man, aren't you going to be more interested in playing? And then suddenly checking the stats during the game isn't such a hassle, because now not only get to see what that player is about to do, but now, wait a minute, I now get a reward for that. So yeah,
Yeah,
definitely.
yeah. I'm thinking about, and we'll be done here in a second. I can't believe we've done an hour talking about this, but hey,
Yeah.
it's a great topic. So when the A's moved to Las Vegas, so a lot of my fellow fans are very angry at the A's. I love it. I can't imagine how great it's going to be to do Vegas. I mean, they're going to have celebrities around. When like, all these Oakland fans are angry, saying we're not going to ever go to an A's game again. I'm like, well, they're going to throw a concert, and Sheila E. is going to be there. Oakland. Too Short is going to be there. Oakland. MC Hammer is going to be there. Oakland. And you're going to have to be like, I don't like Oakland.
Yeah.
They're going to go, right? And so when you take that app and you're coming in from out of town to watch the Raiders, or you coming, man, oh man, if I'm a sales dude and my territory is Cleveland, I can't get people to Vegas fast enough during the winter.
Yeah.
That's and to have that app to do things, buy your client something, boom, whatever, buy them 5 chances at something, whatever it is going to be. I don't know.
Yep. Yeah, absolutely. There's no reason we can't do that. And we're talking about, we're already going to have outside of the stadium a booth where, we can sell our merch. But we're talking about potentially in some stadiums having a merch booth in the stadium where you can go get your reward right now during the game. So that'll be worth it. If I can take a break, I got to go to the bathroom anyway. I'm going to run over here, grab my sweatshirt or whatever it is. That's something that I think would appeal to a lot of fans.
Yeah. I mean, if I was on the threshold of earning my sweatshirt, or whatever, through those, whatever activities they are, I'm gonna be using that app to get that sweatshirt, that game, Yeah.
And we're talking about a feature that if I've got so many points and Rebecca has so many points, I can give my points to her and then she can go buy something. So we're creating it so that anybody can share their social benefits as well.
Oh yeah. Yeah, now you get that kid with cancer on the Make-A-Wish Day, and everybody just floods that kid, and he ends up buying the entire stadium. They're like, this stadium belongs to you.
Yeah, absolutely. I love Make-A-Wish. I'd love to participate with them on this.
Yeah. Well, listen, this has been a riot, man. I love it. I'm so glad you guys came on the show. Anything to make that experience better, and I think it's a heck of an idea. Is there anything else you guys want to say or talk about with your guys? And by the way, this is not an infomercial. Like, this is a genuine. I really enjoyed chatting with you. But is there anything else you want to say about PixSeat.com or anything else at all?
Well, we obviously would love to have people visit our website and find us on social media. We're on all the major platforms. We're on Facebook. We're on all of them. So join us. And what we'd love to see is people submitting videos of them in the stadiums doing what they're doing, and talk about what we can do more. And we'd love suggestions and ideas on how to make it even better. We're going to be launching the MVP, the minimum viable product, next month. And then we're going to be launching in stadiums this coming fall. So we're ready to do some big things, and we just love to hear feedback from fans about what they want to see.
Well, as soon as you guys have something that I can download on my iPhone, I will gladly do it, and I'll gladly give you guys whatever kind of feedback or whatever. I'm thrilled to know about it, and I'm excited to participate with it. Because what's better than that? You go to a game, go to a race, NASCAR race, and you can do things. Monster Jam, and I'm participating. Hell yeah, all that stuff sounds fun to me.
Absolutely, it's going to be fun.
All right. Well, thank you too. Let me stop.